Good evening, all the joinees. Hi, this is Ansu. I welcome you all to the NGEN Markets webinar. By the time the others join in, let's have a look at today's topic. So today we would be focusing on mutual fund holding analysis. So we would be looking on a month-on-month changes in terms of the holdings that has been done by mutual funds into multiple sectors. And we will also view this on terms of specific stocks, meaning which all mutual funds have invested into specific stocks on a month-on-month basis. What has been the difference in comparison to the previous month while comparing it to the current month. Now, this can be done on a sectoral level as well as on a single stock level. We would go forward with that. And as well on a individual fund asset allocation is what we would focus as well on. Wherein on a current month end date, what is the investments made by each fund on a sectoral level as well as on a single stock level. Then we would be looking at our dynamic NAV reports, the daily NAV reports that could be generated on the platform, wherein you would also have an option to subscribe to those NAV reports, and these NAV reports could get downloaded, or you could receive them on your registered mail ID every morning. Post that, the platform would be open for a Q&A session. If you have any query, you can either unmute yourself or write down your queries in the chat box. So let us begin. This is our NGEN Markets terminal, wherein the landing page is the Markets tab. Now, for our topic-related webinar, I go to this Fund section. In the Fund section, the first tab that we could see is the Screener tab. We would move on to this Holding Analysis tab. So as I mentioned, in this Holding Analysis tab, we would be able to see sectoral changes, stock changes, equity holdings, and debt holdings. These are the 4 tabs that comes under the Holding Analysis. We will talk about each in detail. So first, in this Sectoral Changes tab, this tells us on a month-on-month basis, what all are the investments that were made by mutual funds in various sectors. So as of now, if you could see this first checkbox that is right here, check funds with asset class. Equity is what has been selected. You can anytime click on this drop down and you can toggle between the asset class that you want. So as of now, I have selected or rather kept equity as an asset class only. And then the second column that you see basically shows you multiple sectors, and which all mutual funds have invested in these sectors is what we would be looking at. Now, if you could focus in this black row, it would basically show you the month end date, meaning all the month end holdings is what we capture right here in this sectoral changes holding analysis column. Now, as and when the AMC release these data, we record them on our platform, and our cycle of reporting them onto our platform runs from 8th to 13th of the month. Now, if you want to locate the latest holdings of mutual funds into these specific sectors, you move to the extreme right-hand side. So the 31st March, the latest data would show up on the extreme right-hand side. And this is basically a heat map, which shows you in comparison to the previous month, what has been the increase or decrease in terms of any sectoral changes made by any mutual fund. Now, let's say I just focus on this IT software as a sector and I move to the latest column, which is 31st March. It has been mentioned as 12.97%, meaning 12.97% of AUM of all the equity mutual funds. Why? Because I have selected the asset class as equity. So 12.97% of AUM of all the equity mutual funds have invested in IT software as a sector. Now, you want to see which mutual funds have invested into this specific sector. You just simply click on this 12.97%. So you can see as of 31st March, the latest data, as of 31st March, a total of 543 mutual funds have invested in IT software as a sector. This shows you a list of mutual funds that have made investment in that specific sector. You can view the investment in terms of percentage as well as the amount that has been invested by each fund in this specific sector. You can view. And this data of investment can be downloaded in an Excel format as well. Now, the total number of funds under consideration, right here, the blue column that you see, number of funds under consideration. If I move towards the latest column, it shows 734 funds. So as of now, the asset class, based on that, the equity as an asset class, our universe consists of 734 funds. Now, let's say I just want to restrict this universe to maybe any specific SEBI category fund. So that is also possible. The next box that you see to the asset class column, check funds with SEBI category. Here you have an option to search any of the SEBI category that you want. Let's say I want to restrict my search to only flexi cap funds. So I input flexi cap right here. I click on that. Now we can see that our universe has rather shortened down to a total of 38 funds only. Initially, what we were viewing was an entire equity as an asset class. As of now, within this equity as an asset class, I have limited my universe to only flexi cap funds. And now we are focusing on the investment pattern of 38 flexi cap funds. Now, let's say I focus on this automobile as a sector and I just focus on this latest holdings for automobiles by flexi cap funds. So it tells me 5.64 percentage, meaning 5.64% of AUM of all the flexi cap funds have invested into automobile as a sector. Now, the process remains exactly the same. You want to see which all funds have invested into automobile as a sector. You simply click on this 5.64 percentage. So this shows you list of all the flexi cap funds that have invested into this sector. And this is as of the latest data. As I mentioned, you can view this in a percentage format as well as the amount that has been invested. And Excel download for the same is also available. Now, what we see right here is basically a heat map structure. So we can see in a color coordination of green and pink. The multiple boxes have green and pink as a color coordination. Now, in comparison to the previous month, if the investment has increased, it would show up in a green color coded column. So let's say I focus on this 29th Feb. It shows 5.32% in automobile as a sector. And in the very next month, 31st March 2024, this investment has increased to 5.64. Since there has been an increase from 5.32, which was in the previous month, and to the very next month, it has increased to 5.64. That is the reason the 31st March column for automobile as a sector has been shown in a green color coded column. While let's say I focus on this 31st Jan 2024 and maybe 31st December 2023 for automobile as a sector. In comparison to 31st December 2023, there has been a reduction in investment in automobile as a sector. From 5.13, it has fallen down to 4.74. That is the reason it has been color coded as pink right here for 31st Jan 2024 in automobiles as a sector. Now, this data that you see is currently viewed in terms of percentage. The similar data you can also see in terms of values in rupees. The amounts that has been invested can also be seen right here. Now, this changes what we were seeing was on a specific sectoral basis. You can also view that on a specific stock basis as well. So I just go to this stock tab. This is right here within the holding analysis tab. In the stock changes tab, we also have the bifurcation in terms of the asset class. You just click on this drop down. You can select it or rather toggle between the asset class of your choice. As of now, I have selected equity. Next, you can sort this on the basis of large, mid, and small cap stocks. Let's say I select large cap stocks as an option. And maybe I locate Infosys as a stock. So the stock changes tab basically tells you which all mutual funds have invested in Infosys as a stock, any respective stock. As I mentioned, Infosys is what I'm focusing. So I just locate Infosys and I go to the extreme right-hand side, which shows you the latest data. So the heat map structure that we had seen in the sectoral changes tab is exactly same what we see in the stock changes tab. And date as well, you can see these all are the month and dates. And our update cycle on our platform runs from 8th to 13th of the month. Now, let's locate Infosys and I go to 31st March as a column. So it has been mentioned as 5.23%, meaning 5.23% of all the equity mutual funds have invested in Infosys as a stock. Now, you want to see which all mutual funds have invested into Infosys. I just simply click on this 5.23%. So a box shows up, which shows you a list of mutual funds that have invested into this stock. You can see in the name of the stock, Infosys, as on 31st March 2024, stating that a total of 357 funds have invested in Infosys. You can see in the percentage of investment done by each mutual fund into that stock, the amount that has been invested, and as well the drill down can be seen in terms of the shares for that stocks that has been purchased by each mutual fund. And this entire data in this box that you see can be downloaded in an Excel format as well. Now, let's say I just change to this as a mid-cap stocks. I'm focusing only on mid-cap stocks, which all mutual funds have invested into mid-cap stocks. Maybe I locate at Lupin and I go to the extreme right-hand side on 31st March 2024 column. And 2.19 is what has been mentioned, meaning 2.19 of all the equity mutual funds have invested into Lupin as a stock. This again, as I mentioned, is a heat map structure wherein you can see green and pink color coded columns. Green means that in comparison to the previous month, there has been an increase in investment, while pink means that in comparison to the previous month, there has been a decrease in investment. Now, this data on a stock changes level, you can see this in terms of value. There is a toggle button in terms of value as well as shares that are held in lakh. You can also view that using these three toggle buttons. Next is our equity holdings column in the holding analysis tab. So here, let's say you have the name of any specific stock in your mind. You can simply type that stock name. Let's say I search for Axis Bank, and you can see the list of mutual funds that are holding into that specific stock, Axis Bank. As of now, it is mentioning that 452 mutual funds have invested in Axis Bank, and the total value of investment comes to an extent of 71,000. These are the list of mutual funds that have invested into Axis Bank. And next to that, you can see in three columns, holding column, fund AUM, and holding in crore. So this holding columns basically shows you the percentage that has been held by each fund into Axis Bank. Let's say I just focus on this HDFC Flexi Cap. It says 6.49%, meaning 6.49% has been invested by HDFC Flexi Cap into Axis Bank as a stock. Next is this fund AUM column. So this is the total AUM of this fund. And based on its percentage of investment, you can find the value that has been invested by this fund into Axis Bank as a stock. So this 3,298 crore is basically achieved by multiplying the fund AUM with the percentage that specific fund has invested into this Axis Bank as a stock. The last three columns that you can see, 1 month, 6 month, and 1 year return. These are the returns respective to each fund, meaning the 1 month return for HDFC Flexi Cap comes to an extent of 2.09%. 1 year return of HDFC Flexi Cap comes to a total of 40%. So these three columns are the returns which are respective to each fund that have invested into either of the stocks that you search for. Next, I move on to these debt columns, wherein which is similar exactly to the equity columns. You can type in the name of any of the debt securities in this search box column, and it shows you list of all the mutual funds that have invested into that specific debt securities. So as of now, in HDFC Bank as a debt security, these are the list of mutual funds that have invested into it. You can see in the ratings of each of these specific fund, and also these three columns, holding column, fund column, and holding in crore. These are exactly same what we had seen in the equity columns. Respective to these funds is what is these 1 month, 6 month, and 1 year return that can also be seen in this debt holdings column. These 1 month, 6 month, and 1 year return are respective to each of these funds that have invested into debt securities of HDFC Bank. Now, this was the holding analysis report. Let's say I just want to do this analysis on a single fund as well. So that is also possible. Let's say I just search the name of the fund in this search funds option. I'll just type in HDFC FlexiCap. So right now I have loaded in a fund, which is HDFC FlexiCap. Then I move on to the asset allocation of this fund. In the asset allocation tab, the first tab that we can see is the overview tab. In the overview tab, this basically shows me the total holdings of these specific fund. Let's say I just click on this equity bar graph. So it tells me which all are the stocks into which HDFC FlexiCap fund has made investment. So you can see Axis Bank to an extent of 6.49%. That is what we had also seen in the holding analysis. When once I had typed in Axis Bank, I was able to see 6.49 for HDFC FlexiCap. So that is what we can also confirm right here. I have just loaded in HDFC FlexiCap as a fund. And this data, as I mentioned, is as of the latest date, which is 31st March 2024. Next, I move on to position changes by month. So this tab tells us in comparison to the previous month, what all are the largest increase or the largest decrease that has been made by the fund. And also it tells you which all are the new positions that has been added, as well as the positions that has been removed from this fund. And this data is available for the last 12 months. As of now, I've just kept it on 31st March. So in comparison to the previous month, which is 29th Feb 2024, you can see the largest increase has happened with Axis Bank to an extent of 0.43%. And the largest decrease has happened with HCL Technologies, negative 0.76%. You can also toggle this. Let's say you can just toggle this and it is available for the last 12 months. Next, I move on to the positions over time. So here you can see that there is a color coded, wherein there is green color as well as red color. So red basically shows that in comparison to the previous month, there has been a decrease, and green shows in comparison to the previous month, there has been an increase. So this data basically shows you that on a month on month, what all are the investments increase or decrease that has been made by each fund. And this data, you can view this for a total of 12 months. Can view this for the total of 12 months. 31st March 2023 is the last thing that you can see. So a 12-month, month-on-month increase or decrease is what you can see. And this data, you can sort this on the basis of single security as well as on a sectoral level. So there is a toggle button between securities as well as by sector. So it tells you in comparison to the previous month in banks as a sector, from 29th Feb 2024 to 31st March 2024, there has been an increase in banks as a sector investment made by HDFC FlexiCap as a fund. Now I just go to this by security as a tab. And here as well, we have two toggle button, percentage as well as shares in lakhs. So let's say I just click on shares in lakhs. And maybe I just locate Axis Bank right here. So we can see that as we had mentioned, or rather seen in position changes by month, new positions into Axis Bank had been purchased. That can also be verified right here. Axis Bank, you can see new positions has been purchased to an extent of 315. And these are in terms of lakhs. Initially in the month of 29th or in the month of Feb, it was 280 lakhs were the shares that were there. As of now, it has increased to 315. Next, this data you can also view in terms of percentage as well. Yeah, so right here, it was 9.32 and it has maybe ICICI Bank. As of 29th Feb 2024, it was 9.32, which is increased to 9.46 as of 31st March 2024, meaning this has been happened due to mark to market of capital, meaning the change in the price of that specific stock has prompted to this change in this specific figure, or rather the holding. And let's say if I just click on this shares in lakh and locate for ICICI Bank. Right here, you can see the number of shares has remained the same for the last 3 months. So the fluctuation had mainly happened due to the change in that specific price of that stock that we can view while we toggle it between the percentage right here. 9.46, it has been increased from 9.32 to 9.46. The latest data happened due to the change in the price of that specific stock. Next is our daily NAV reports that could get generated, as I mentioned. For that, I just go to this Funds tab. In the Funds tab, I just move on to this Reports tab, which is right next to the Holding Analysis tab. So in this Reports tab, you have an option to download this Excel file, which are showing the daily NAV reports. So you just log on to the platform and click onto this Excel file. So these are the NAV reports. You would be able to see 4 buckets. These are basically the asset class. So these are the hyperlinks. You could just click on any of the category and the data, the NAV, latest NAV for that specific category would show up. You click on any of that specific category. These are hyperlinks. So you would be directly taken to that page, which shows you the NAV as on the latest date. Now, the option to download these NAV reports, there are 2 options. Either you come onto the platform and you click on this Excel download button on a daily basis. If not, you could subscribe to these NAV reports. You could just click on this plus icon and the NAV report could get downloaded, or you would receive that on your mail ID, your registered mail ID with NGEN. You could receive these NAV reports maybe around 10:30 to 11. At that time, you could receive this NAV report onto your login. All right, so that is it for the topic related webinar. If anyone has any query, you can either unmute yourself or write down in the chat box.
Yeah, hi, this is Himanshu here. I am not sure whom am I talking to. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So this is Himanshu here. Just wanted to understand, it's great to know such kind of analysis. but how do we use it in our practical life to ensure, kind of we garner the best of the returns for our investor is what I would be keen to know. Right. So I got a very clear understanding on how to identify which sector and which stocks one is holding and what is going up and down. But how do we ensure that it results into money for our customer? I mean, that is what also I would want to know.
Yeah, sure. Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Arunabh sir?
Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So could you just repeat your question?
Yeah, hi. So this is Himanshu here. My question was very simple. So it's great to know the insights, but how do we use it so that we identify the better funds, or how we are able to maximize return for our investors? That's what I was looking at as a use case.
Sure. I mean, there are obviously many different ways of doing it. We can show you around with some of them. The main thing is if you're looking to construct a portfolio from scratch, we're assuming that you will have some kind of idea about what you want to build. But the first place to start would be the fund section where we are right now. But
Yes, please.
So you're not
most likely the
yeah.
Yeah, the category averages section where you can decide the overall categories where you'd like to invest in. Once you've made a decision about that, what you can then do is basically look at the screener and then try to figure out the best kind of funds you want. Now, here there are various different parameters to go through. What you can do as a as a quick way to pick some decent funds with good return and risk and return characteristics is to use the NGEN fund score, which is the blue column there. You
Sure.
can pick a few funds there and take them to the compare section. Obviously, I'm going through this very quickly. We can arrange a separate training session for you as well. And once you select a few funds from there, you can take them to the compare section. This is where you can start to drill down on the funds you've kind of shortlisted. And once you, let's say, have about 8 to 10 funds, you can then start to create portfolios out of that. So that's the general idea. Now, we obviously have various different ways of analyzing these funds, so you can pick the right ones. Um, but the main point is that the fund section and the compare section help you pick the right mutual funds, and then finally your result would be to come to a portfolio, which is something that you can then recommend to your clients. I mean, if you have anything specific in mind, we can answer that right now, or we can take you through a separate training session, which we can arrange with you, where you can basically have a look at the platform in detail.
Yeah, thanks, Arunab. No, so I don't have any specific in mind, but since
Okay.
we went through the stock, uh, I mean, so basically allocation by the mutual funds or the sector, allocation changing. So how do we
Yes.
utilize that is what I was looking forward to it.
Sure.
And at
Okay.
the same time,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, we would want, or rather, I would want that kind of a discussion, or how do we garner it much better? That's what I would want to know for NGEN software. I mean, we are pretty new to this as far as software is concerned, and want to know more things about it, not as how does it function, but more from the use cases. For such and such use case, you can take 1, 2, 3 approach, those kind of a thing.
Sure. So for those use cases, we'll definitely arrange a separate call because that will take some time. But just give you an idea of the holding analysis page, the main reason for us to build that page was actually came from requirement from some early users a couple of years ago. So Ansu, if you just click on that tab, please. So here, as you can already see, these are the average sector holdings moving across time for all equity funds. Now, the main purpose of this is to give you an idea from a stock selection perspective, because what this gives you is an idea of what the mutual fund industry is doing in terms of equity sectors. So if you're wondering whether you should be, focusing on banking stocks or pharma stocks or automotive stocks or whichever ones you want, you want to see what mutual funds are doing, generally speaking. This is a good way to understand that, in for example, in pharmaceuticals, you can see the last 4-5 lines are green. So mutual funds in general, all equity funds on average have been increasing their allocation to pharma. So you could take a cue from that. In the same way, you could look at how some of these individual average sector allocations have been reducing, to give to kind of get an idea that maybe you should reduce it if you're happy to follow what mutual funds are doing. Now, this is just sectors. If you want to hone down into individual stocks, the next tab, stock changes, this actually goes down into the stock level. So this is not a bad place to come up with some nice stock ideas. So for example, if we say mid cap here, so we show large cap, mid cap, and small cap stocks separately because otherwise it's too much data. So for example, if you look at mid cap here, you can start to see some stocks where mutual funds are aggressively increasing positions. So this might be a nice place to pick up some ideas which you may otherwise not have. But here you can see, individual stocks that over the last 5 or 6 months, for example, mutual funds have increased their positions into. So this is a place where a lot of our users use this to come up with, kind of single stock ideas.
Okay, sure. So I was looking for such kind of a insight and a use case that helps us to build up better, right?
Yes, the main use case for this holding analysis section for the first 2 tabs is actually to get stock ideas, to get a better view on the stock market rather than mutual funds, because this is actually giving you an idea of what the kind of the big fund managers in fund houses, what their view is. So this is a nice way of getting an idea of what all fund managers are thinking, basically.
Sure. But it would have a lag of a month kind of a thing, or maybe.
Yes, that is definitely the case. Now, considering quite a few of these funds are pretty slow moving. You can see that they take a few months to establish a position. So a lot of their views could actually be long term. So in that case, it should be okay. But you're right. It's the holdings are updated as per the disclosure timelines.
So momentum strategy you may not be able to take, but yes, long-term view, buy and hold strategy is what you can.
You can gauge from here. Yes.
Yeah, got it. Thanks for pitching in, but I would appreciate such kind of a use case if I can discuss with someone or someone can take us through, please.
No, we can. We will arrange a separate call for you and we can go through individual cases there.
Fair. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions, please let us know.
Hi, this is Surajit. I've started using from last 1 month.
Sure.
Okay. So now the mutual fund industry is getting more complex. So you have more assets are getting added, like your commodities. Sometime real estate is also getting added to mutual funds. I can see only two asset class appearing here, which is equity and debt. Because we have multi-asset point of view, you have gold and silver also getting added in some of the funds. People are taking positions. So is there any way in your software can we find out on the multi-asset allocation or multi-asset fund, what is the commodity and what is the call they have taken there?
Sure. So here, our classifications, the classification you see on NGEN are derived directly from what SEBI has done. So, Ansu, if you just go to the screener for a second and select that select category buttons, here you can get a decent idea of what the overall buckets are. There's obviously equity, debt, hybrid, and other. Now, you're right that it doesn't cater for other things like commodities or real estate. So here the main issue is that obviously we are following the SEBI guidelines in sort of main category and then subcategory. We are working on a way to create a separate classification where we would make space for such things. That might take a little time to kind of develop and introduce into NGEN. But right now, the best solution to find at least funds is to actually look at the subcategories here, which will hopefully look at only commodity funds. But at this point, what we do is we follow the the SEBI mandated categories that mutual funds are also following.
Now, in the SEBI category, we have hybrid. Under hybrid, it comes the multi-asset funds. It's
Right.
part of the SEBI category, correct? So
Yes.
I'm not asking a specific gold or silver fund, but
Right.
within the SEBI category itself, I think your software should be able to point out, okay, let's say take an example of ICICI Prudential multi-asset fund. I think they are about, if I'm not wrong, 10 to 15% gold allocation, correct?
Right. Right.
So somewhere, at least at that basic level, we need to know, okay, this is where the allocation is right now. And that's part of SEBI mandate.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you load that particular fund, you'll be able to analyze the individual allocations very easily. So, yeah, let's just load that fund. I think ICICI multi-asset.
Correct.
So if you load that fund into an individual analytics page, you'll get a complete asset allocation view. And there you'll be able to check all of this.
Because on the broader spectrum, you have only two, debt and equity. And that will only drive everything. That's
right. But here
so
you can actually see. Yeah.
No, here there is no commodity here. You can see equity, debt, cash. So there is nothing there.
That's right. Just check the detailed view and see if something shows up there. Again, in this case, how much allocation did you say that they have to?
At least like 15 to, that's what I read it somewhere. 10 to 15% gold allocation is there already. So somewhere
so you can see it's clear that they've done it through mutual fund allocation. So you can see that they've got a little bit of money onto the gold ETF, but that's about 2.7%, and the silver is 2.5%. So you can, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's as high as 15%.
There is no gold allocation here at all. So these are not only through ETFs.
So they've invested in the gold ETF, and that is available here. I mean, for example, Ansu, just click the Indian mutual funds chart item, so we can just see. Yeah. So if you click these, so basically that's all there is that could possibly have gold exposure, unless I'm missing something else here. But so that's about.
We are not missing anywhere anything. I think this is with the real estate is covered.
Right?
Even the real estate is covered. The IIT is also covered.
Okay, so there's a REIT.
Even the foreign equity is covered.
Yeah. So here, yeah, I don't see anything else here. If you feel that there's something else that should be here, we can obviously look into it. But, here, I think the investment you were mentioning is it doesn't look like it's as high as 15% though, because gold you can see is 2.5%, silver is 2.5%. Unless they've invested in gold using something else. On the left hand side, it's covering the entire.
No, Aruna, if that would have been the case, then there would have been a disclosure from AMFI or from the AMC.
Oh, got it.
Okay.
So
No,
I
what
think
I
here
was
you'll be able to.
I was expecting is that the because I'm new to your software, so
Of
I'm
course, yeah,
slowly. Yeah, yeah, correct. So
yeah.
if it is hiding within the Indian mutual fund, so how do you look at it?
Mhm.
That's what I was searching, nothing else.
Yeah. You'll see. We've seen this here and there. A lot of times you will see that funds are taking exposure to specific things using other funds.
Correct.
So it is important to just check this view as well, especially when you're analyzing funds, because obviously you can kind of find out exactly what's going on.
And in case of fund of funds, does it
Mhm.
combine all funds and put one data?
No, so it depends, because there are some fund of funds where we see underlying data. It depends on what is disclosed. If the fund is just said that it's investing into three other funds, for example,
Okay.
then in asset allocation you will just see the name of those three funds. We don't currently provide a further drill down into that, because obviously that can technically it can go on forever because you go into another fund which is holding more funds. So we don't break it down to the next level. Right now,
Okay.
if they have direct investments into a mutual fund, it will show up as a line item in the asset allocation.
Okay, got it. Because the fund of funds category is also growing now. I can say
It is,
substantial.
yes.
It is growing. So we need a bit of more
Yes.
analytics. You can put it in future
Understood.
tab, and
Of
we
course.
get, because sometimes what happens ki if you combine 3 or 4 or 5 funds, somewhere you want to look at ki what is happening inside combining all funds, correct? So I think you have
Yes.
the data. Only thing is that you have to merge it and put it in a specific bucket. Then it will be easier for us to see, okay, this is what it is.
Understand. Understand. Yes.
That's all. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Please let us know.
Hi, Arnab. Sarvesh Utkirkar
Hi.
here.
Yeah.
Over
Hi.
here in the stock allocations, we can see what all stocks are being held in a mutual fund. On the screen itself, it shows that 24 derivative shorts are found.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
any
That
option to look at stocks held for arbitrage purposes in all of this?
So you want to only see the stocks that are held for the purposes of arbitrage,
Uh, Not only, but then is
right?
there any way wherein it has been mentioned that this stock has been held for arbitrage in a
Sure.
selected fund
So
across all?
sure. So in this case, Ansu, just click on show all for a second. So just on top of the table. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so here, one way to kind of have a quick look is if you click on the show shorts in that red box, it'll scroll you right down to the bottom where you'll be able to see the derivative short positions here. The easiest way, to be honest, is obviously to get it on in Excel. But here, so if I understand your question correctly, do you want to isolate all the stocks that have a matching arbitrage position on the short side?
Not only on the short, but then it could be the case that there is some long position also, but only for arbitrage purposes. It could be a subjective call. I
Right.
don't think that must be factored in, but I'm just putting it out there.
So here, either there will, for example, we have a short for access here, so there must be a accompanying long on the top when we scroll up. Now we can potentially match these two. That for access we have a long and a short. But there may be stocks which only have a long and don't have a short, right, against it. So do you want to see those separately? Because all the information is obviously in this table.
Okay, so right now it shows all of it, right? Nothing net of the figures.
Yes, so now it's showing all of it, including the shorts. If you want to remove the shorts from this calculation on the left-hand side on the chart, you can remove it, and the equity percentage, as you can see, will be affected. So Ansu, just click that button. Yeah, and you can you can see that it's gone up. So just from this, there's about 6% shorts in there. So that you can do to kind of remove the arbitrage portion or keep it in your view.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I had another question regarding the NGEN score that is mentioned up above.
Sure.
What is it based on? As in, is it a objective calculation or a subjective opinion of NGEN?
No, absolutely. It's not subjective at all. It is 100% algorithmic. And the kind of the inputs of the algorithm are also clearly mentioned below. Sorry. So these are calculated on a monthly basis. We normalize them so can average out a score out of 10, expressed in decimals. And of course, the score is within each category. So that similar funds are, basically looked at in terms of relative performance within that same category. So you can try out various different things, but one thing is 100% sure is that the whole thing is algorithm. And you can use the screener to kind of go through 5-6 different categories and pick up the top rated funds. They usually come out with very, very well performing portfolios.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions, please let us know.
Hello.
If there's nothing else, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, one query is that go to holding analysis in mid-cap. Mid-cap stock, okay. Just like say in this Samvardhan Motherson in February 21, go to percentage, please. Yeah. It is say 2.21% is it's red in sell and 2.34%. Just click on that as adjustment. Both are green bond. I want 16%. Say Phoenix Mills. Go for Phoenix Mills. 16% in 24. Just click for that.
Okay.
Simple. Say DSP Medicap 4.30%. They are purchasing. It's a 7,200 crore, 700-200 crore.
No. So this means they're not purchasing. This is their
holding
percentage holding on that date.
Okay, fine. Okay. And next month, click on next month.
Yeah, click on next month.
DSP midcap. Now it is
4.22.
Okay.
Very small change.
Okay.
Very small change. And if you want to look at this properly for that fund, and so just click on DSP midcap fund. If you're interested in kind of investigating this fund only, you go to asset allocation and you go to positions over time. This is a very kind of nice view where you can basically see their position changing in various different stocks. Yeah, we're looking by security. So you can see how the it's changing. You can download in Excel if you want to analyze further, but here you can get for this fund only, basically.
Understood. Okay, fine. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions, please let us know. Okay, if there's nothing else, Ansu, we can close for today.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for joining in. You can anytime visit our YouTube page. The link is available right here in the platform. So a dedicated playlist is what you can see, and all the webinars that we have recorded up until now, you can see it in that webinar playlist. Thank you all for joining in. Hope to see you again next week with a new topic. Thank you.